at the hall of justice.
You want to say, we've never really announced ourselves. Can you say what's up, everybody? I'm Chase, and I'll say I'm Shep. We bring you a nice Thanksgiving special presentation. Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready. You're filming, right?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. What's going on? I'm Chase.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
What the fuck?
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, shit.
I'm Shep.
I got stuff.
What the fuck? Oh, man.
Oh, no. What the fuck, man? What the fuck? I'm so fucking scared right now, guys. Oh, fuck. Oh, man, I think he might have died. I guess he was choking. I guess he was.
It wouldn't be the first time I came in coughing.
Right.
Ayo.
Hey.
What's up, everybody?
Back at it again. What a great intro. What a great intro you've made for us today, Shep.
I always make great intros.
Well, let's just jump right into it. Here again, what I think for the fourth time. I think this is the fourth time on the show.
I believe so.
We got our good friend Priyanka Bhakta back again.
Yo.
It also makes it 4, by the way. Didn't even realize that until I did the peace signs.
There you go. I'm pretty sure this is your fourth time.
I think so, yeah. Because it's like, what, 2?
Third Monday, and then we did the October episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to be back, my friends.
Good times. You're a fave amongst some of our viewers.
Thanks.
That is true.
You're all my favorite. All of you, whoever you are.
Right. Even the people who can't stand to see you on our show, it's like you still love them.
Thank you. Right. Even the haters are what makes me popular.
Where are the haters at? I need to speak to the haters.
Yeah.
Where they at? Person that sent me a dislike. I still love you.
Well, it's a new year. And last time we talked to you on a Monday show, you were going through it. You're going through a hard time. And from what we kind of discussed the other day, seems like you're starting to kind of come back to yourself a little bit.
Yeah, like, new year, new me. No, not really. New year, new self, I guess I should say. And I think like 2022 especially was particularly really hard for me. I think a lot of people during this time of year like to reflect back on like either what their previous year was like or what goals or what goals they want to achieve for the new year. It's either, losing weight, getting healthier, getting stronger. And then by like 20 days in, they just kind of like fall off the bandwagon, or some people stick with it. And I think like something I really wanted to focus on was not have a resolution, but more of just kind of like an overarching theme of the year and kind of making active practices towards that. Because like I mentioned, 2022 was just really, really hard for me. I had just lost my sister. I was still processing all that. I was still trying to figure out I was talking to my therapist about this too. I was trying to figure out who I was, because I felt like, especially when you lose someone that's so close to you, kind of feel like you lose yourself. And I'm sure that's kind of, if you have that experience, maybe you've experienced that, or you feel some sense of yourself either conflicted or confused, or you're trying to kind of like rebuild yourself in a sense. Mm-hmm. And I think really that is what my 2022 was. I was just in a really bad place with my job, with my mental health, with my personal life, my professional life. And it really does hit you in all aspects of life. Like my personal relationships were being affected, my mental state was being affected. And I think the biggest thing I learned from 2022 is that no matter how low my lows are, I was still able to pick myself back up. And I'm not saying that I'm not, going like this all the time,
Mhm.
but I feel like when I am starting to feel this, I can pick myself up a little bit more, if that makes sense. So, like 2023 for me is a year of like self, mindfulness, me. And not in the sense of protecting myself, but doing things for me rather than what other people or what I think other people expect of me. So I think that's a
Yeah.
great way to start off 2023. And I
I'm fine with
kind of want to
that.
open to you. Do you have like a word that you're looking for like a word or maybe kind of like a phrase that you're feeling like this year is going to be about you? Because mine's mindfulness and self. I
It's the
don't know.
Jordan year for me. 2023 Jordan year all around. I'm big things for 2023. 23 has always been my number. And I was just, feeling good coming into this year, still feeling good about it. Obviously, have plenty of struggles, with the kiddo on the way and stuff like that, living the American dream, with the car, the house, the kid we can't afford, all that stuff. So it's just like, it's about that time to level up in many different ways, whether it's personally, professionally, creatively. Um, yeah.
And I
I
feel
vibe with
like,
that.
yeah, go ahead, Shep. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you didn't. I was just saying I vibe with that. I mean, it's pretty much the same over here. Hell, I'm in my like midlife. I'm gonna be turning 36 this coming year and shit like that. So a lot of
Right.
my winters has been just vibing on that fact. Like, damn, bro, like you're old, man. Like you ain't, I ain't what I used to be.
Can't wait to shoot the Shep's midlife crisis special about
Yeah,
mid-year.
yeah.
You buy a convertible and maybe a hamster or something like that. No,
It'll
and I
just
think,
it'll
yeah,
just be where I do the Britney Spears. I'll just shave the whole hair,
shave.
but just we'll go like Shep has a full breakdown mode.
Start posting yourself on social media low key naked, but like, do you live your
Yeah.
life?
I'll put
No
emojis
judgment
up.
from me. No, and I think like I hate to go this place, but I feel like a lot of people have like I feel like during COVID, like just the last 3 years alone have just been a shit show for everybody, and in some aspect of regard, whether it's loneliness, they lost their job, or they're just like, fuck, I hate this shit. And fair point, we all do. And I think a lot of people are taking 2023 because like I guess 2022 was kind of like, oh, we're kind of posting off that COVID, whatever. 2023 is really the year of like healing for a lot of people, or like self-growth or self-preservation and just growth in general or in some capacity. And I think because there's so many people, at least I'm surrounded by a lot of people that have that similar mindset, it makes my goals or like what I quote unquote have intended for myself or plan to do things with intention so much easier. And I think that's just, I think that's kind of the overarching theme of 2023 is growth in some aspect of your life.
No, I vibe with that hard. Yeah, because definitely, yeah, it's a year of growth for me too, personally. Because it's like, like I've said on the show, it's like, all right, so I've been doing like the music thing for like 20 years. It's like, do I really want to, keep putting out, 3, 4, whatever, however many albums we can come up with? Like, and, I've taken a second to like just, we did a lot last year, especially like me on the music side.
Mhm.
I popped off with a lot of shit, so it's like I just want to take a little break and figure that out, because it's like without, I've had that conversation with myself, like what would I even do if I didn't do music? Like where would the day-to-day even go with me? Like what kind of shit would I, because I couldn't just sit around. Like right now it's okay because it's cold outside. I ain't trying to get out there. So it's fine to sit around right now and just watch a couple movies and play some games or some shit, but like it's like, damn, I'd get bored really fast when it's nice out. So that is what this year is. It's like, how do I, what do I keep doing with music? Because I think me and you, Chase, we had that conversation on the show not too long ago, where it's like, do I go 10 more years? Do people really want to see a 45-year-old white dude putting out some fucking?
I will say, after we had that conversation on the show a few weeks ago, the people have spoken. I've had some people talk to me about that, and they were like, 10 more years, keep it going. They'll take 20 more years, 30 more years. They don't give a shit.
Well,
But
didn't you watch
they're
like
here
the
for
Oscars? I didn't watch the Oscars, but I watched like clips of it on TikTok, and how
Right.
there's so many people that were winning awards, and they're like, I thought this was it for me. Or like 30 years ago, I thought this was
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And then it was like
yeah.
mainly the Everything Everywhere All at Once cast.
Right, yeah.
A shout out to representation everywhere. But it's like also like they were talking about how they really thought it was over for them, but one person saw something in them, and they were able to do something that they love. So I think a part of self-care and growth entirely is also doing things that make you happy. And if that's what makes you happy, there's no expectation of age or limit.
And
Because man, I'm sure like there's 70-year-olds out there trying to do them, It's all
it's
about
definitely easy, especially like, with the creative stuff. It's very easy, whether it's music or like acting or whatever, making movies. Like, it's very easy to be like, is this silly? Do I need to grow up and quit doing this? Like, is it time to? But it doesn't matter. Like, we could do this till the day that we die. There are people who do this into their 80s, 90s, 100s. Like, they keep that imagination alive, and they keep being creative.
I wish there was a way that I could be 100 years old and drop a rap song. I think you would easily go viral on that fact alone. If they're like, damn, my man's is 100.
Straight fire.
Listen,
spin rhymes and shit.
Hashtag keep Snoop alive.
Right.
But you know what
Somebody's
I
gotta do it.
like have learned as I've just like want to grow up or whatever. We're like, if you're true to yourself, 90% of the time, adults are just older looking kids. And I think like we kind of forget that because we feel like we have to grow up to match like what society tells us, or like I can't like Legos because I'm 28 years old. Like that's a little kid thing. Like I need to be moving out of my house and doing mortgage shit. Okay, I can do.
But no 8-year-old's got the $50 to drop on fucking Legos.
I love adult money because now I feel like my interests are for me. What I want to do in my life and I have the money to do it, I'm going to spend it on myself. And it also, one, heals like your inner child, but two, your inner child is still there. And I think like we have such this like idea of as we get older, we have to get rid of like parts of our identity because that's what we're supposed to do. Right. But in reality, like it's just finding that balance. And I think that's what real adulthood looks like. Because I mean, I don't know, I'm 28 and like in society's eyes, I'm supposed to be an adult, but I still feel like I'm like 21. You know what I mean? Like I still feel like I'm like, there's bills and I have to pay them. Okay. Yeah. But like I'm not ready. Like I can't yell at this customer service person because they charged me more. Like that's my mom's job. Like there's like this unknowing like pressure that's been put on us just because we quote unquote are a certain type of age. But I think the happiest adults are the ones that just say, I'm an adult, I do my responsibilities, but I can also fucking game until 3 a.m. if I want to.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, that difference, between being mature and being an adult, as people like to put it. Like, you need to grow up and quit doing this, that, the other. It's just like,
it's like,
it is preposterous, because especially there are things that like are dubbed, things for kids that like, of course I did it as a child, like reading comic books and watching cartoons and all this stuff. Like I did all that stuff as a child, but now as an adult, I understand it all. And it's so much richer than it was, back when I was a child. Like I loved it then, but now I love it even more now because I get the complexity and the storytelling aspects and the artwork, and like I get it now. And it's just such a rewarding thing. But people want to be like, oh, that's for kids. It's like, yes and no. Like,
maybe it started when I was a kid, but I continued this as an adult because I continued to like it. And if there's content
Right.
or the possibility of creating content is there
Mhm.
for you, I don't know. I think people tend to be super judgy on places that they don't want to be judgy. Like they're
Mhm.
reflecting themselves and how they were told or somebody
Right.
told them onto other people. And it's like, if it makes you happy, do it.
Right.
Don't do it because somebody is telling you that you should do it or that you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I
I
think
feel
like
that.
it's easier to listen to other people telling you not to do something or not to enjoy something than listening to yourself because you feel like the odd person out. But it is such a like it's so much more freeing when you're more honest with yourself and just being like, you know what, I'm gonna do this because fuck what other people say.
No, yeah. I like I said, I feel that. I've done that a lot in my lifetime of just, even with music, like when I first was like, I kind of want to do Halloween music, but I've done, this positive hippie music for a minute now. So does it make sense for that artist to go from doing like we should all get along and love each other songs to going from I'm cutting off these kids' heads when they come on my porch and ring my doorbell and decorating them as pumpkins?
Right.
I'm saying it's like I enjoy both, you know what I mean? Because I am both in real time, in real life. I like some horror shit. I like that spooky shit, but at the same time, like I ain't gonna try to go out and hurt a real person, like at
Right. Yeah.
all. And yeah, it's just about anybody. What I've seen on my time is like anybody that was like hating on somebody or like I don't know why they'd go out and do that. It's usually because they wish they had the courage to go out and do that, and seeing somebody else does that, strikes something within them that's their way of getting that out is towards the person doing it. So that's why doing hip hop my whole life has been there. Everybody that has ever met me, they're like, I wouldn't have never thought you did hip hop music. It's like, yeah, I know, me either,
Yeah.
but I do.
I speaking to like the movies and kind of this whole conversation about like kids and all that stuff. Um, the kid that I babysit now, he's 3 years old, and we were watching a movie the other day, and there was a moment when we were watching Space Jam 2, and there's this moment that I'm just like I'm watching him watch this movie, and I'm like that right there is the feeling that I had watching movies growing up. That's still how I feel to this day, and that is the feeling that I want to be able to give to children, to adults, to other people. And it was the scene, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen Space Jam 2,
Where
but
you
there's a
been?
scene near, yeah, right, where you been? Um, but near the end of the movie, there's a scene where it seems like Bugs Bunny is going to die, and not die like a vicious death. That's a very brutal way to put it, but
For children. Right?
he's deleted, if you will. And so like he's sitting over on the couch, and I lean over and I look at him, and he just looks so goddamn sad. Like he's so into it. He's 3 years old. He's so into it. And as Bugs is like Lola's holding Bugs in his arms, and like finally like he fades away, and he's just so sad. I go, "Bud, are you sad?" And he's like, "Mm-hmm." I'm like, "Is it because of Bugs Bunny?" He's like, "Mm-hmm." And then at the end of the movie, when Bugs does come back, like he was fucking elated. He was just so excited to see Bugs Bunny back, and just like that kind of like thing that just grabs you. And then like same with watching this like 101 scariest horror movie moments. You got all the people that are on the show like giving the commentary on these moments, who like similar to you, Shep, when you talk about child's play when you were a kid, like how it affected you as a child. And it's like, they're all talking about these things like from like, yeah, I was a kid when I saw like such and such. And it just like, changed my whole life, man. Like, it scared the shit
Really
out
does.
of me.
Really,
I
And
will
yeah.
now
say
I am who I
there's a
am because of
reason
it.
that I'm scared of mannequins, like to this day. And I know it's like so stupid, but I can't look at like dolls that look like human. Oh God, the idea of it makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. Like going to Old Navy with the faceless. Ah, this is so scary. I can't do it.
I feel that. I feel
But it
that.
is like it literally like changes like or it like adds to your person. I mean, that's granted traumatizing, but in the terms of like that might be a moment that the child that you babysit for might remember for the rest of his life. Like that's the moment he's like looks back like 20 years from now, like I remember the first time I saw this, you know?
Yeah.
Oh no, for real. I'll never forget watching A Nightmare on Elm Street with my sister, and we were both in a rocking like a recliner rocking chair kind of thing, and there was a part um where Freddy Krueger jumps out from behind the bushes. He's like, ah, and me and her both jump back at the same time, so the entire thing tipped over backwards. And it's, again, that's just a memory I'll never forget. And yeah, like Chase
Mhm.
is saying, if that's something that I could ever deliver to somebody, I'd be like, oh fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the big difference. Like I'm kind of, I was like, I just remembered like my favorite memory of like movies was Halloween Town would always come out on Disney Channel on my birthday. So it was like October 4th, Halloween Town is like, because it's like the first one's always like Hocus Pocus, and then they have like the basic ones, and then they'd always went to Halloween Town like the week of my birthday because it was so early in October. And I feel like even now when I watch Halloween Town, I got to show my sister's daughter, my niece, she's never seen Halloween Town except for the time she came over to my house. And
Mhm.
I was like, "You've never seen Halloween Town?" She goes, "No." She sat there and watched it the whole time, and she was like singing, like when they were doing like the little lantern thing,
Mhm.
like the jack-o'-lantern light. And it just like it brings a different type of joy as an adult, because it's like this
Right.
is a memory I have on my own that I get to share with you as an adult, but we now have this thing together and we can
Mhm.
equally enjoy it together. And at one point, if she chooses, like, this movie's kind of whatever, I will still have that memory of the first time we got to enjoy it together.
For
Right.
sure.
That's something that's embedded in me. And I
Yeah.
think that's like such a, like, that just kind of transitions back to like, do things that make you happy, regardless of your age, because that's you. I mean, we only get this life once. Granted, if reincarnation's real, so that's different,
Yeah.
but you only get this specific life once. You only get these choices once. Make the most of it. So I
There's
think like
a
yeah, I think that's great.
I
Or
was
the
gonna say there's a lot of stuff in Buddhism that talks about taking care of your inner child, and not neglecting that inner child. And I definitely think it's important, like what you're saying about having those memories. Like, we went to Walmart the other day to get some books, like little activity books for the kid I babysit. And while we were there, I scored big finding these books that I read as a kid, and we got it for like maybe 15 bucks, all these books. um that now I get to share this with my kid, and I'm so stoked. Like, I was so happy, like when I found a set of little critters. Like, I fucking love those books. Like, I vividly remember having like a little computer game that was a little critter computer game, and stuff like that. So I'm hype as hell to finally, and memories of my mother reading me, Love You Forever. And now I have this book that I'm going to be able to read to my
That's a
kid, and
good
it's
book.
just like I'm saying, for $5, I was like, bada boom, like, no, what a memory.
what a steal.
Hmm.
But that's exactly it. Like I think that's just that's such a cherishable moment for like that you'll have with your kid forever.
No, I did the same when my son was born. I had a bunch of Berenstein Bear books that I had when I was a kid, and we still had staves, so I could show him, and I could show him in there when he was old enough to be like, look, there's Uncle Matt's handwriting in there, and mine, and we're all there as kids with our really weird, the little stick figure drawings you draw as a kid that look all fucking
Yeah.
weird. But yeah, no, those are great, very great memories to be able to share. Like I said, I was trying to think of a book that my mom always read to me. I felt like when I was a kid that I liked, but I can't remember the kid's name. But it was something in the No Good, Very Bad, Horrible Day or something like that.
Alexander.
Yeah, there you go.
Alexander and
I
the
like that one.
Terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
I did. Oh my god, that's like a memory I like completely. I was like, wait, what? It just
Memory
like came
unlocked.
back to me. Or like
That was good.
Amelia Bedelia, that was
Mhm.
my lit, where
Mhm.
she'd like take everything too literally, and I'm like, actually, same, because fair point. Like it makes sense to me
Yeah.
now as an adult.
It's been something I've been thinking. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit because there's like books that I knew that I grew up with that I'm wanting to start like collecting for when my kid is old enough for these books. Because as I learned from babysitting a 3-year-old, 3-year-olds are not into certain types of books. But like, I like Roald Dahl, like Matilda and James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like all that shit. Yeah, 3-year-olds, they don't give a fuck about that shit. But like the Magic Treehouse books, looking forward to reading those to my kid. And Goosebumps, man.
Goosebumps is very solid. Whatever you do, I was going to say, whatever you do, do not get for a kid, do not get the Wizard of Oz sequel book. Okay. Return to Oz. It was
Return to Cinder.
It was terrifying. No. They came out with this movie when I was a child. That I think it was like supposed to be a sequel to the book. And it was like Return to Oz or something weird. And like I remember like seeing the book. I think my grandmother had it or something. She had like
the book is as terrifying as the movie is.
Oh yeah, everybody. I'm like, this is not Wizard of Oz, and then they were like, yes, it is, and I'm like, no, look at the scarecrow's a pumpkin head. I mean, now as an adult, I think Scarecrow's kind of dope, but I remember being a kid just being like, no, dude, that is not the Wizard of Oz. So do not get those ones at all, I would say.
Oh yeah, that movie is fucked up.
Well, even their filming of the movie is definitely cursed. So you all heard about that too, right?
Of Return to Oz or Wizard of Oz?
The Wizard of Oz.
Oh no, I've never heard about this.
You've never heard about that? Talk about one of the most terrifying issues of like people were dying on set.
Oh, never knew that.
Somebody killed themselves on set. It was like in the video shot of the guy literally like dangling while they're like walking down the yellow. Oh my god! Okay,
it's in the movie. They kept it in the movie.
Yes. Well, like I don't think that like now we're edits they don't, but like way back in the day edits, you can see the person.
It's on YouTube for sure.
Yeah, like there's like a whole dark history on.
Well, that I know. Like I think the Tin Man guy, I think he died or might have died from the paint they put on him, like that. Like they like the first time kind.
Like food poisoning. Yeah, it was like there's this whole thing of like how that movie is like super cursed.
Huh,
you should go look into that and do like an analysis on that.
Then I'm learning all sorts of stuff today.
I'm actually genuinely shocked you didn't know that because that's like the only fun fact I know about the Wizard of Oz is how fucking cursed that movie was.
That it is, and it's fucked up, and just like how Judy Garland was treated back then and shit is real fucked up.
Like super sexualized. It was bad, but. Anyway, this is for the mind. We're gonna bring it back to mind because you don't want to get. That's a whole different story of mindfulness.
Hey, I'm being educated right now. My mind's being fed.
Blown right now. But yeah, I think like the whole point of like that, like sharing those moments and being able to enjoy those as an adult is really kind of like my it's in there under my overarching of like 2023 is doing things that genuinely make me happy, not other people or what other people expect of me to be happy. Because I remember like a lot of 2022, I just felt like I was either supposed to get over my grief. I was supposed to just like, accept it and move on. I was supposed to be, not angry and not upset. And I'm in this process now of like learning that it's okay to still be angry. I'm still allowed to be angry at my sister for what happened, and I feel like a lot of 2022 is being like, no, I can't remember her in that type of light. And like, I was just talking to my therapist about it, that it's okay to remember her in that light, but also be upset for the situation because that's a part of what makes up me and my emotion. Just because someone's dead or someone's passed away doesn't mean that you can't harbor negative emotions towards that person, but it's how you kind of want to engage with those emotions yourself. That's kind of up to you. And I think that's kind of like another thing of my year in overarching is just being more honest with myself and not feeling like I have to hide or be worrisome of specific parts of me and just letting that shine through rather than kind of like shoving it away because I'm afraid of what other people are going to think about me.
Definitely, yeah. I know it was a few years back that I kind of took on that mindset that you're talking about now, and I'm still doing it. It's still a struggle,
and
of sorts because it's like it is hard when it's very easy to get stuck in the mindset of like what other people want for you, you know, and getting stuck between that and knowing what's best for you, you
Yes.
know, and what makes you happy, and knowing that like, hey, I love you, I hear what you're saying, but I got to do me, I got to do my thing, and that's how this is going to work best for me. Because the more I put that into practice over the past few years, I mean, the more you know, I've kind of reaped the rewards of that, you know. Like, you know, here we are still doing this show fucking for our third year now. And it's like, if you had told me that in December of 2020 that this silly little thing would just keep on trucking and keep on getting bigger, you know, I'd be like, really, you know, this is the one, huh? Like, you know, but it's exciting, and you know, like because of that, like you were saying earlier, like sometimes it's like I know people watch our stuff and might think like, oh, you know, oh, they're having fun. Like they still, there's plenty of people in my life that keep dismissing it, I feel like, as just like this fun little hobby that we have. But it's like, we're out here, we're doing this. Like, you know, this is what like we're doing. And then they're like, well, maybe one day you'll make a real movie. You know, I'm just like, well, God damn it. We'll never be able to do that if you don't take this seriously, you know? And so like, I feel like with every project we do, we always come at it just trying to one up ourselves every single time. And so like, you know, we got two things coming up in April that like I know we're both pretty stoked about. And, you know, in my mind, you know, I'm seeing it as just another level up from what we've done previously. And I hope that once all is said and done, it does turn out that way. Shippy frozen. It sure looks like it.
It does look like he's frozen. But I mean that's kind of it
I
does
was.
that's oh no, oh, he's still
Yeah.
frozen. Okay, you're just a voice of frozenness. But like, yeah, and I think that's part of growth because it's like if you have this quote unquote hobby, whatever, your hobby can turn into so much more if you just continue to do it and get better at it. And I think like it goes back to what people think of you. It's like, oh, you know, you should be doing this, or you don't spend so much time doing that. It's not going to benefit
Right.
you.
The
But
big one for me is people saying like it's a financial thing. They're
yeah,
like, well, you're not making any money off of that, so why are you even trying? You know, it's like, well, this is the buildup. This is how we eventually get paid for this shit. You
and
know,
also it's not their problem to worry about
Right.
because your financial situation does not affect them directly. And if it does, that's a conversation for another day. But at the end of the day, you know your life. You know what you want to do. You know what you want, need, and want to accomplish. And it's just all this other white noise behind you that can prevent you from continuing doing what you want to do. And I think that's the whole part of like learning how to ignore that white noise and listen to the one in you. That's not anxiety. Yeah, that's not anxiety of what other people
Right.
are. So I think, you know what? Keep fucking doing what you're doing because these bitches are gonna come to you in like 5 years when you guys are fucking multi legit people in the streets recognize you kind of shit. Then they're gonna be like, wow, Chase, can I be in a movie? And be like, no, you fucking said no. So you said
Right.
this was just a
Kick
hobby.
rocks. Keep going.
Well,
it's-
you know,
it's a self part of you. It's a part of you, and people diminishing that, they can go fuck themselves. That's all I gotta say.
well, life can always go whatever way it goes, you know. Somebody could watch our Easter Sunday and be like, damn, this is cool. I'd love to give these guys some money and see what they can do. You know, someone could listen to a song of mine, an album from 10 years ago, and they could be like, damn, this guy's got some skills. Like, what? Oh, shit, he's got 10 more years. You know what I'm saying?
Like Stranger Things, like, did you hear like that Running Up That Hill song was not popular in like when it came out. And then 40 years later, they put it in like a fancy show, and now it's like making way more money than it ever made. You know,
Yeah,
it's
for
the
sure.
same thing.
Well, you know, and especially these days with where we're at with technology, and it's even just, you know, who's to say, like right now, my music's not big in America, you know, that's a fact. You know, it's big in Mexico and it's big in Finland, you know, that's where it's popping off. And it's like, if this was 1993, I wouldn't be shit. You know, I probably couldn't even get my buddies like, come on, dude, just play the CD. And they'd be like, nah.
Nah,
But
I don't have a
nowadays,
CD player.
yeah,
Nowadays-
nowadays,
There's so many career options. Like, they did a study or like a conversation or whatever with like a bunch of kids like a couple years ago, maybe not even that long ago. And they're like, what do you all want to be when you grow up? And usually, like when we were kids, it was always like a doctor, fireman, a teacher, blah, blah, blah. Now kids are like a TikTok influencer, a YouTuber, a podcaster, and then people are like, oh, you'll never make money from that. Fuck, look at all these people on the internet that are multi-millionaires just from recording themselves playing video games. Like, the world is changing.
Didn't this study come up a couple of weeks ago? Didn't Randy talk about this when he was on the show?
I brought
You brought it up.
Okay, I was
Okay.
like, yeah, I've heard about it.
Because
yeah.
but the study, the point of that study was to show though where like TikTok is from in China, their kids still want to be astronauts, physicists, and all this kind of stuff, and it's showing that the media that's being driven right into the veins of our youth or showing them that, like, it's almost like when I was a kid. You got to think back in 1995, or I can't even tell you. I made my first rap song when I was 9 years old, 10 years old, somewhere around there. Master P, Ghetto Dope just came out, so it had been like 97, 98, 99. You got to think like in America at the time, if you're looking at hip hop artists, there was probably, and I'll be generous, there was probably like 5,000 active hip hop artists in our country at that moment, going around touring, doing their things, trying to make a name for themselves. Probably a lot more than that, but that's just, that's whatever. But then by the time, so I'm like, damn, I want to be in music. I want to do that. That looks baller. MTV was being fed into me when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That shit looked cool. By the time I got of an age to make that a career, that market went from probably about 5,000 active hip hop artists to probably about 50,000 active hip hop artists within the country. And at that point, you're like, there's too many of us that only the ones with a next level sort of skill are the ones that a record label people are going to be looking at to pull. Everybody else is going to be doing work. And I feel like this generation we got coming up right now, they're going to have that same problem where they want to be influencers. They want to be this, they want to be that. By the time they're going to be 18 and that's what they're dead set on being, that market is going to be so oversaturated that, the companies are going to be looking at what's the next way to market to this next batch of youth.
Well, and kind of another side of that is like, as I've learned with like filmmaking, everybody wants to be a musician. Everybody wants to be an actor. Everybody wants to make movies. Everybody wants to be an influencer. But the reality of all of those careers is the amount of work that actually goes into those. Even being a social media influencer, the ones that are the most successful are working their asses off. Like, even though and they have to make it look like they're not working their asses off at the same time. And like the people who are like, oh, I'm gonna be a social media influencer, like, and a musician and everything. It's like it comes in waves of like people hit those ceilings of like, oh, this is what's expected of me. Fuck that. Oh, this is what, fuck that, and they slowly start jumping off. So no matter how oversaturated a market is, it's also like, yes, it's the people who are very talented, who do have that next level quality, but also the people who are willing to put in that work and keep going and never give up, and some people are just like, fuck it.
We're ignoring the number one big fact, and that is having the connection with somebody that's already made it. That helps a fuck ton. So if you don't have that, yes, it is work. I broke this shit down to my son a few years back because he was getting laughed at by my nephews because he said like, oh, I want to be a professional NFL player when I grow up. Like, that's what I want to do. And I broke that shit down to him. And I was like, listen, dude, I was like, you're like 13, 14 right now. I'm like, I'll shoot it to you straight. Like, if you wanted to do that, probably about 3 years ago, we should have probably been sending you to one of the top football camps in the country over the summers. You should have probably been on like an eating, you're going to need to start getting on an eating diet, like a diet regimen, a workout. You're going to need to work out like 5 days a week. Spring break, oh, your friend's going out. Nope. You're going to go to a football camp, and it's like that. If that's where you want to go, I'm like, from here, because we're a small ass town. I was like, you can get there. You can literally get there. I'm like, but you're going to have to put in so much work to get there. like you got to really want to do that. And he's just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, yeah, you're right. Like basically,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you, and it's like a lot. Like I could go with like 20 years of music knowledge with a kid and teach him how to start gaining a big enough influence in doing that. But it's like, listen, you know, your friends are going to be going out getting drunk and stoned. You're not. Like, you can't be doing that, you know, like you got to be putting in some fucking work at that point.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to do that.
And on
Yeah.
the flip side, like I think people tend to forget that when you do make it, or if you're like a viral sensation on TikTok or whatever, there's a whole expectation you have now of whether you, even if you just posted a funny video that you expected 10 people to see and 10 million people see it and you become an instant viral success, that can dawn on your mental state as well, because this was just something fun that you wanted to do. And now people are expecting you to push out more content, and you're like, yo bro, I just posted a funny video of my brother falling, like I didn't
Right.
expect this to go anywhere. And that's why I feel like a lot of people, like, it's great that children want to do this, but I think there's also an understanding that needs to be put in that a lot of times content creators can have a lot of mental burnout or overwhelmness. And I'm sure you face this as well, but in terms of, especially
For
when you
sure.
have like so many people expecting you to do this all the time, and you're maybe 20, 21, 22, or even like younger, depending on, that's the range that typically people go viral or whatever the hell, that can really dawn on you, because there's a point like you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. If you get to a point where like, this isn't fun for me, this is work that I never anticipated on having, that's a whole other discussion with yourself and other people of like, it just fell on me. I didn't expect this to be my
Yeah.
whole life.
Especially if it goes in a negative way
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
And if you have haters and you can't handle that kind of like commentary, or like that, people will attack you on the internet. The internet's also a cool, fun, and exciting and great place to share content. But on the flip side, it's also a negative and scary place that can really fuck with your mental health.
Yeah.
And I think we need, if you want to go those both ways, you gotta have those conversations for both, because with fame comes a lot more than
Oh yeah.
happiness, you know?
It's a lot worse these days because of the internet, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, but even back in the day, like when people would become actors or musicians or anything, you still had the critics. You know, it could still fuck with your head. Like, the internet wasn't as big as it was like when Harry Potter came out and stuff. But like, I've read recently how a few of those kids were like, "Yo, I'm too big for my britches now. Like, I don't like this. Like, I don't like how popular I've become. I can't walk down the street." Like, and it was just a lot for them. And
Hermione Granger, or
yeah.
like Emma
Emma Watson.
Watson. I was like, I always get, I have to remember which
Yeah.
Emma it is. She, I read it on like the H3 thing. She wanted to quit like so early because she didn't expect it to be such a detriment on her life. She just wanted to be normal, but she was never allowed to be normal. And I think like that part of it gets into a whole different play too, of like doing what makes you happy and not because of what people expect of you. Because I think,
Right.
like Jenna Marbles, like YouTube sensation Jenna Marbles, she quit YouTube because she was like, enough is enough for me.
Yeah.
I've done this for this many years. It was fantastic. And I'm so thankful for what you did. But now it's time for me to live for me. And, I think that's the part where it's like, when does it stop being a hobby or an interest or something you're passionate about, and it turns into something you're not? I literally just watched the movie Menu, and that was also kind of the premise of that. But I'm not going to give it away because I know Chase.
Yeah, don't talk to me about that movie.
But it's literally so good because it really reset my mind of like, when does something that you've loved for so many years and something just turn into something that you are just like disgusted by or whatever?
We've had like those little tastes of that. Like, we're not at a level where we have people like demanding shit of us, like make more of this. But we've found ourselves falling into that mindset before of like, this is what people expect from us. Don't know who these people are, but they expect it from us. And then like we fall into this thing of like, this is what we need to keep doing, and then we fucking become miserable trying to force things rather than just having a good time and letting things flow like we usually do.
Right.
But yeah, so you got to have that balance of like, you got to make sure you're still having fun, because otherwise what's the point?
Because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to be truthful and honest to your content or to your interests or whatever it may be. Because I know we're speaking in terms of like content. Like, I know for my own self, I want to get back onto the YouTube game because 2022 was really hard for me, and let alone trying to do something that I was passionate about, like crafting. I lost it for such a long time, and now I found a groove in it, but it's like allowing yourself that time. And I know my subscribers are still like talking to me like, are you going to post another video? And I'm like, eventually, like, let me get there, because they don't know your life outside of what you post, or they don't know your life outside of what you allow them to see. And I think like that's another part of like, especially the internet being the internet. It's like you can be anybody you want on the internet, but you only get to live you and your everyday life for yourself.
Yeah.
What a great transition, y'all.
That's why I like keeping things private myself, like a few things, because it's like, people don't need to know everything about you,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
and
like,
don't have to share everything about you. There's no expectation. But people say that like, oh, I want to get to know you, and it's like I'll let you know what I want you to know,
Right.
not because you want to know. So like if someone asks you a question, it's okay to be like, I don't want to answer that. And then people will be like, why? What's wrong? You don't trust me? And you're like, no, I just don't want to tell. I don't want to share that part of you, about a part of me, with you.
That's why I love people like Sacha Baron Cohen, who's like, he is amazing to me just because like he does shit like Borat and Bruno and all this stuff, and he's out in the public like just doing this crazy shit. But you know next to nothing about this guy's personal life, like and I think that's so impressive that he's somebody who is so much in the public eye that he is still so private, and the fact that he can maintain that privacy is just very impressive to me.
Same with Dolly Parton. Like Dolly Parton's been married for like 45 years. No one knows what her husband looks like. Like I didn't even know that. She didn't interview. She's like, my husband, he's very supportive of me. But we're like, we've never seen a picture of him. And she's like, because he doesn't want to be in the public eye. And I respect that. And I'm like, wow. Or Mindy Kaling with like her kids or her kids' fathers. Like, I think there's such an expectation of what people put on you. But at the end of the day, you do what makes sense to you, not because there's a pressure on you. And I think with famous people, especially, there's a bigger pressure on it. But sometimes oversharing can cause a lot more problems than it needs to.
Facts.
So protect yourself as you need. That's my call. I know I always have a call to action. Protect yourself as you want to, not because other people want.
As the great Wu-Tang said, protect your neck.
Yeah. Going all signs today.
No, that is big facts. Like I always like to see the people that get into the spotlight that like they had a plan for the get-go, especially like sometimes, most of the time I see it within musicians, they release a few really good solid albums, do some tours, and it's like they've had their fun, they've made the money that they've wanted to make. Hey, we're gonna go live our lives now, like we're done with that. Like that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's baller, I think it's nice to see.
For sure. And to loop back to kind of the beginning, talking about you, Shep, with your conundrum of do I go 10 more years or not? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it just recently that you really started to kind of like start making your own like beats and stuff, like producing a lot? So I feel like you're in a whole new stage, like you've only just begun, like and. Well, and personally, I've heard some of your older stuff that I dig, but like I feel like you're in a good place still to be making hits.
No, I mean that's what the thoughts are, on my end with me is like, do I keep making hip hop? What if I wanted to make something different? We've tossed. I was like, nobody wants a Johnny Cash country album, and everybody was like, I'd listen to that shit. It's like, what if, because I always used to joke about that. That used to be like my joke, is I told everybody when I hit 30, I was just going to swap it up and do like folk music. I was like, nobody went from hip hop to folk. Like
with the banjo.
That's not true. Kid Cudi tried.
There's no
hip hop.
Yeah, no, there's been a few. I actually listen to an artist now that he like goes between both in his music, and I think that's pretty baller. So yeah, I mean, there's that, and I think on one of the last shows we did, at some point I was talking to you about Chase. I was like, oh, I could just start throwing some of these instrumentals up on my YouTube page and shit, and see about that. So there's always that avenue too of going. not as hard in crafting, actual full songs. I'll probably still do Halloween shit because I like that, and whatnot. But is looking into producing for other people, being like, hey, I got some beats and stuff. I still talk to Black Mage all the time. Shout outs Black Mage. So it's like, I can hit him with, here's some 15 beats, man. Like, let me hear a new Black Mage album. Like,
Yeah, right.
let me hear that shit. There's many avenues.
And I feel like you always get better the more you do something.
Mhm.
And it's like people always want to say practice makes perfect, practice makes improvement. And I think that is a whole different mindset because you don't have to be perfect at your craft. You just have to keep wanting to get better. And progress isn't linear. It goes like this. And it's okay that it goes like that because you learn something when you're down here that could get you up here when last time you were here.
Yeah. No, I vibe with that big time. And and it's just keeping things fresh. I don't want to go put out something that I'm not satisfied with myself. Up until this point, I go listen to any fucking album that I put out, and whereas other people might listen and be like, "Man, this is stupid. I don't get it." And it's like, no, listen, this song right here, though, like this song will blow your fucking mind. Like if you were there that night, you saw how we recorded this one like this, and there's a lot to all of it. So I love it all, and I never wanted to get to a point where I was like, man, this shit's fucking corny or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even if it is, like, I feel like we also are our biggest critics. Like, we're our own
100%.
biggest critics because we could think something looks like shit or sounds like shit, and like 2 people later, I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. You're like, no, you're just saying that. You're like, no, they like love it.
The gender reveal video, man. That's my latest thing that I was just like so hard on myself. I was like, this is such a piece of shit. Like when I was throwing it together, because I'd never used a green screen. Like I had no idea how this was going to turn out. And like I was pulling the clips off YouTube for the Oscars and stuff. I'm like, I just don't know how this is all gonna shake out. And I thought it was fine when it was done, but then everybody like who's seen it is like, holy shit, like that was amazing. I'm like,
I'll be one of those advocates. I was laughing, I was smiling, I was cheesing the whole
the
time.
joke I keep making though is that like a lot of people are like, oh, this is like so creative. This is like one of the most creative things I've ever seen. And I keep telling Belle, I'm like, clearly they've never clicked on our YouTube channel ever. if they think this is so creative, they have never watched anything we've ever done prior to this.
I mean, I feel that, but no, like to me,
reveal, I think it was very creative.
I do too. most of them that I see, I just think are like
the baseball.
Well, like in my head, I'm always just like, why are you spending all this money on this huge thing like this when you're about to have a kid, man? Like it's like I would never want to do that myself.
Oh, facts, yeah.
So like seeing you guys get very creative with it, with
what you have,
with the shit you already have.
I didn't think about it that way, but yeah.
Is like that to me was like, this is baller. Like this has already put you guys above all the rest of the ones that I've seen.
On top of that, like that was you. You know what I mean? Like that video was you too. And I think like that adds to it too, because sometimes, especially with gender reveals or things with babies, it feels so impersonal, but that like is personal, and it's like, that's why I think it was probably even more well received because you weren't being something or trying to do something that's not core to you.
And for me, go ahead.
I was going to add, and that'll be something that to me would be really cool to share with your kid later on in life when he's much older, and you're gonna be like, oh, here's how we did this. It's not you guys just taking a fucking tube and
he's a boy.
Or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Blue foam or shit like
the joys of being a creative, and who knows, maybe one of these days, if I'm ever at the actual Oscars, I'll be like,
you could
look, Charlie, we made it.
That's right.
But and I mean, through that whole process, I got to walk away with, kicking off 2023 with a level up of, Shep and I, we've had this green screen for fucking like 2 years now, I think, and have done nothing with it. And I think it's just like there's been this level of fear of like, I don't know how to use this goddamn thing, so we just never touch it.
And
you gotta get over it, right?
And honestly, it was so easy. I'm like, oh, well, fuck it, let's make Sin City 3. Let's do it. Like, let's go. Fucking. It's like now that I know how to do this thing.
Lovely, Chase, that you did that, because I think that's part of what, like, just because I know it's almost an hour, and just to kind of wrap from the beginning of, like, I think it's so lovely that you say that, because people are so scared to try new things because they're either worried that it's not going to look right, or they're too old to do something, or their body doesn't work the way that they did. I'm not going to say exactly what I do, but I started aerial fitness, and that was a big thing for me. And I always kept telling myself, oh, I don't have upper body strength. I could never do that. I am too fucking old. My body doesn't move like the way that these people that do this sport do. And you know what I told myself in December? I said, I'm only judging myself. And unless I try this, and I always think you should try something twice, because you can surprise the first time, you're always like surprised by something. The second time you have that expectation of what's to come, and you feel better. And now I'm obsessed with this aerial fitness, and I record myself now, and I've just progressed from like the early on in December from when I started it to now. You can only get better, but you have to jump over that hurdle that I think stops so many people from doing it, because you get in your head about something. You're like, I can't do this. I'm too old. I'm not going to be good enough. You always compare yourself to other people. And I think that needs to stop, and you only sit for yourself. And now that you've done that green screen, now look at all the possibilities of like, oh, I've done this, and now you will only get better as you keep doing it. So I think that's fantastic, because that's definitely the energy we're taking 2023 with.
It's the same. It's like being a musician playing live on a stage. It's the same. You're gonna, anxiety ridden all day, and then the second you get on stage and you're done with that first song, and you realize either people are fucking with it, or not paying attention, or are talking to other people. Nobody's sitting there laughing at you or nothing. It's just like all that just is whooshed away, and you're good to go, as long as you've practiced and know your shit.
And as long as you are enjoying it, because even if people don't fucking like it, fuck them. Enjoy it for yourself. You may not have a performance, but do it
as a movie maker, as a writer. Like, I have the benefit of having such an eclectic taste in music and movies and books, whatever, that like I'm used to watching really off the wall weird shit that people are like, what in the hell are you watching? What the hell are you listening to? That I know that no matter what I make, even if people tell me that there's not an audience for it, that's bullshit, because there is an audience for it. And at the end of the day, like, as long as we enjoy what we're making, that's what matters. Like, most of the time, some of the best artists, like Quentin Tarantino recently, is like, somebody asked him, do you watch your own movies? He goes, oh hell yeah, of course I watch my own movies. He's like, why? He's like, because I love them. He's like, I love my movies. It's like, I make them for me. Like, I love my movies. Like, even if nobody else dug my movies, like, I love them. And to kind of go off of what you were saying too, Priyanka, about like the fear of trying something new, is that fear of change, of like like what Shep was saying earlier about like just like going from hip hop to Halloween, or hippie hop to Halloween, just like that worry of like, what are other people are going to think if I change the vibe? Like, if I start doing something that I wasn't doing before, like, and I've seen that throughout life in general,
right?
Where like, somebody hits a point in their life where they just need to change up their life, creative stuff aside, they just need to change up who they are, what they're doing. And they're so afraid of coming across as like fake or something to other people, of like being like, well, that's not how you used to be, so why are you acting like this now? Well, man, because I needed to start being somebody different. And
I
people
don't
get
feel
very
anymore, or I don't enjoy this anymore.
People get afraid of that change.
For me personally, I still enjoyed the hippie hop, but yes, no,
right. Yes.
It was one of those. Yeah, it's anxiety. Yeah, and you do fear the change. It's intimidating, but yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, you get looking back in retrospect is always better. And when you look back and it's like, damn, son, like my Halloween music's been doing better than the hippie hop shit was. So it's like, maybe I should have just kept off with the horrorcore genre, since because that's where I started back when I was in 2000 and fucking 3.
But you would have never known that had you not given the leap of doing it.
Yeah.
So that fear of change, that fear of trying new things, like just overcoming those things, and just listening to yourself and what
Yeah.
you
Thanking yourself
want
for
and need.
doing that, because I think it's easy to like do something and also forget to and like be grateful for yourself. Like it's okay to be grateful to yourself for doing this, because that's a mind game you have to play with yourself. And then once you get over it, being grateful that you did that for yourself can also take you only further. You know what I mean?
No, for
Definitely.
sure.
Time
It's,
to
it,
thank yourself.
well, and it's a fact because that whole switch up for me personally was something I did for myself. So if nobody enjoyed Halloween music, I didn't care. I wanted to make some Halloween music, and sometimes that's the right move to make, and people are wanting that kind of content or whatever it be. If you want to start a podcast, you never know. Somebody out there might be like, hell, I needed this shit. We've had our people over the 3 years come in here being like, damn, this is what's up.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, be true to self. If you're true to yourself, you can't go wrong.
Nope.
Love it.
Nope. 2023, year of growth. Year of
Year
being
of
true to
growth.
yourself.
And doing things with intention for you.
Do you 2023? Hell yeah.
All time.
Wait, I don't know which way I'm going. That hurts.
Hit it with the see. No, we're never gonna get this. That's something I've determined. We've been doing this for 3 years. We still don't know which way the screen goes. We
Yeah,
still
and
have
it's
no
like
idea
we
which way to move our
record
hand.
this way, but it flips on YouTube, and I'm like, that's not what my face looks like. And then I look like that weird inverted AI filter on TikTok. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. People that are.
Yeah, we all know. We all tried it and been like, ugh.
But I feel bad for those people that paid $8 because TikTok it's on there for free. So
It's like, this is how people see me. This is how everyone sees me.
Is this what I look like?
this is what I look like. Damn,
We got-
yes.
it's like, yeah, I'm looking good. I
But
thought I was
stay
leaning
true
to
to
the
you.
right, not left.
Live your life for you. And I wish you all the best on your New Year's goals, resolutions, days, whatever you want to call them. That's what I'm going to send it. That's what I'm going to close mine with. Thank you both for having me as always. Thank you all for watching.
Thanks for being back
Yeah.
once again.
Anytime, y'all.
Yes.
That'll do it. We'll hit them with that outro. Peace.
Smooches and juices.